Chloe Peterson says, sources confirmed to me, Caitlin Clark suffered a very mild bone bruise in her left ankle on August the 7th. So Caitlin Clark basically got hurt again. How did she get hurt again? I don't know. It's definitely looking hella spooky right now, because if Caitlin was hurt and supposed to have been not doing certain things, how do the Fever organization allow her to get hurt again?
Indiana Fever Nation has been struck like a thunderbolt by devastation. Another setback, another injury, another heartbreaking reminder that even legends are susceptible to disaster. The unstoppable force that transformed arenas into cathedrals, Caitlin Clark, is currently trapped in a never-ending purgatory of injury reports. This time, it goes beyond simply missing games. It has to do with missing a whole season. It concerns the methodical demise of the most captivating talent the WNBA has ever witnessed.
What were the odds that the Indiana Fever would miss the playoffs prior to this season taking place? Just there's so much fishiness going on in this league, and you just sniff around a little bit, you can tell. What is the payout for somebody who bet, oh, the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark, with a new head coach, with all these new additions? What's the payout if they just, surprise, miss the playoffs? Indiana Fever reporters, beat writers, pawns, whatever you want to call them, they are suddenly reporting an August 7th ankle.
Even the most upbeat fan would go for the tissues after reading the stats. This season, Clark has missed 22 games. Is it 22? That's more games than some athletes miss in their whole careers.
None of this stuff, like, why tell us now? None of this stuff is just, it's not making sense, man. I mean, this organization, man, it's being run like a mom and pop shop, bro. Like, God, like, what is going on? What is going on, man? I mean, it's ridiculous at this point. It's just flat out, it's absurd. I don't even, nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's liars. We can't get the truth about anything. There's a video of Caitlin Clark trying to jog. She looks awful just trying to trot. I mean, I don't know what's going on. This is terrible. I told y'all, it's a wrap. I don't want to say it's a wrap. I told y'all she's done for the season.
The player who played every game in her first WNBA season and never missed a game during her 4 years at Iowa is now accumulating injuries like trading cards. While attempting to recover from her previous ailments, she sustained a left quad strain, a left groin injury, a right groin injury, and now a bone bruise in her left ankle. It's similar to witnessing a work of art being vandalized in real time.
Until yesterday, we knew about the quad injury earlier this summer. We knew about the groin injury that's kept her sidelined damn near the entire season. Now we are being told that Caitlin Clark suffered a bone bruise in her ankle during a workout 2 weeks ago. This poor girl is falling apart in her early 20s. Part of me understands the push to get Caitlin Clark back on the court. The Indiana Felines are barely hanging on to their playoff spot.
Please subscribe if you're having fun. Let's discuss what we're seeing, because bad luck isn't the only reason. This is methodical. This is computed. The WNBA is doing nothing to stop their brightest star from being dismantled piece by piece. The 2025 season began so promisingly for Clark. With their great player at its core, the Indiana Fever had assembled a roster fit for a title. The fans marked their calendars. Tickets for the season were bought. They were dreaming. Then, like an unwelcome relative at Thanksgiving, reality interrupted the celebration.
Because Caitlin Clark is the most covered player the WNBA has ever seen. So if she had an injury or tweak something or hurt something almost 2 weeks ago, you probably think we would have heard about it by now, right? Right. Scott Agnes reports Fever All-Star guard Caitlin Clark tweaked her left ankle during a workout in Phoenix, league sources told Fieldhouse Files. Chloe Peterson confirms this. Sources confirm to me that Caitlin Clark suffered a very mild bone bruise in her left ankle. A tweak, bone bruise, forget it.
Her left quad strain, which kept her out of action for 5 games, was the first domino to fall. However, Clark, being Clark, recovered and scored 32 points against the New York Liberty, the reigning champions. For a split second, it appeared as though the basketball gods were grinning once more. However, that smile was a terrible prank. Fans who simply wanted to witness brilliance were deprived of 4 more games due to the subsequent left groin injury.
And she had changed by the time she came back.
An unusual 4-game total of 12.5 points on 31% shooting. It muted the spark. The magic was subdued.
The Caitlin Clark injury situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could be. And that's coming on the heels of it seeming to be pretty clear when Clark would return to the court, or about when she would return to the court. It was said on the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that Stephanie White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open portion of practice, Clark is not seen. And Stephanie White afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is back at practice. Well, what changed? Right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seem to point in the direction of Clark returning.
After that, she suffered a right groin injury on July 15th against Connecticut, which has prevented her from playing in 13 straight games and counting. But hold on, there's more. Because it seems that the basketball gods have a terrible sense of humor. On August 7th, Clark hurt her left ankle during a workout while attempting to recover from her groin injury. They described it as a very minor bone bruise. They indicated it wouldn't have an impact on her timeline. Here's the problem with injuries, though. They don't exist in a vacuum when there are so many of them. They make compounds that are layered. They construct a house of cards that continually collapses.
And we have no idea when Caitlin Clark is coming back or if she is coming back at all. Every time that they get asked, they just say TBD. We have no idea what's going on, which is, in my opinion, quite suspicious. You kind of know what is going to happen with an injury. The doctors can give you an estimate. The player can tell you, you know what, I'm not really feeling that great. I don't expect to be coming back. But she has been practicing with the team. Maybe she's going to come back for the playoffs and help them get that championship, or at least try to get the championship.
Folks, this is when the narrative becomes very annoying. This did not occur in a vacuum. This was not a strange mishap or an inevitable turn of events. This was the predictable outcome of a league where players were encouraged to treat Caitlin Clark like a tackling dummy wearing a basketball uniform, while referees stood around with their thumbs up their collective rear ends. Recall the cheap shots, eye pokes, and blindside shvees that put Clark to the ground? Only after the game was Marina Mabra's shoving of Clark to the ground raised to a flagrant 2. JCS Sheldon is aiming at Clark's eyes. The knowing full well that the referees would either ignore them or give them a pointless technical foul, player after player took their best shot at the biggest star in the league.
Yeah, it's crazy. They can't see all of these fouls and flagrants that's happening, especially when it comes to our precious CC, Caitlin Clark, at the end of the day, but they have time to pay attention to your podcast and finding you. You know what I'm saying? Because of you calling them out on they miss. You know what I'm saying? We don't care about them jive turkeys like they would say in the 70s. At the end of the day, keep it to yourself. Even if you did know when Caitlin Clark, aka my precious and our precious CC, was coming back, which we know she's not coming back. She's out for the rest of the season. She needs to stay out for the rest of the season because of this organization in the WNBA is a whole catastrophe.
This was anticipated by Lisa Bluer, Clark's former Iowa coach. He demanded that rules be changed, that players be ejected when they cross the line, and that fines be painful. However, the WNBA was too preoccupied in tallying Clark's earnings to genuinely defend her. They allowed the physical play to get more intense. The targeting was permitted by them. They did nothing as they watched their golden goose lose game after game. They are currently coping with the fallout from their carelessness. While officials continue to act as though nothing is wrong, the player who single-handedly helped their league reach new heights is stranded on the sidelines, watching her sophomore season go a Waco coincidence. It is impossible to overlook the tragic irony. Up until this season, Clark had never missed a game in her basketball career. Now, she has missed 60% of the 2025 season. The lady who made every venue a sold-out spectacle and who charged people $670 to breathe the same air as her magnificence is now relegated to practice updates and Instagram stories that never happen. The same non-answers are consistently provided by coach Stephanie White. It's essentially status quo until she can start practicing and you see her in action. Translation: they don't know if or when she will return. On September 9th, the regular season comes to a close. On September 14th, the playoffs begin. The window closes a bit more every day.
I can't stand Stephanie White because she keeps covering up and doing lies, and I find her very deceiving, and she lacks integrity. She don't tell the truth. Remember, she covered for Dewana Bonner, saying she had personal reasons and didn't tell the truth about it. And then she lied about Caitlin Clark's injury, where it was a lot severe than it was, but she said day to day, kept stringing a carrot. And then once again, she lied again and didn't say a word about her being hurt, getting her ankle hurt. What's up with this team being like very deceiving and not telling the truth and not like being transparent with the fans? Like, people love Caitlin Clark. They want to know what's going on. They're worried about her groin injury. Is she getting better? Is she not? You know, we're all thinking, oh, she might be coming back soon.
To their credit, the Fever have survived without their star player, going 10-9 in the games that Clark has missed. Oh, be honest, though. They didn't build this squad to survive without their best player. Rather, they created it to win a championship. As they watch their hopes of winning the championship fade with every Clarkless game, they are currently in 6th place at 19-16, just hanging on to a playoff spot. And the wounds continue to accumulate all around her. Ari McDonald had a broken foot, Sydney Carlson had a ruptured ACL, and Sophie Cunningham had a torn one, 150. The entire team appears to have been punished by the basketball gods for having the audacity to create something unique around their exceptional talent. Not only are Indiana Fever supporters dissatisfied, but they are furious, and for good reason. They purchased season tickets. Their timetables were designed with games in mind. They had faith in a championship run. Rather, they're listening to updates from their team's medical personnel that sound more like hostage talks than injury reports. On social media, the annoyance is evident. Instead of risking more injuries, fans are urging the Fever to bench Clark for the entire season. Investigations of the league's officiating and player safety procedures are being demanded by others. Some even wonder if the Fever and the WNBA are being open about how serious Clark's injuries are. Clark's teammate Sophie Cunningham has also defended the organization against conspiracy rumors for the duration of the season. However, when you're dealing with this degree of systematic failure, her comments seem hollow. Something is seriously wrong when your best player goes from never missing a game to missing more than half a season.
She is injured, but she suffered 3 lower leg injuries, and now we're talking about Caitlin Clark suffering a minor leg injury as well in practice, which has affected her shot while she was trying to play through her injuries, affected her shooting for her long distance, her jumping, her elevation. We all know what happens when you aren't right as a guard and you have to get lift and you have to score, you have to push off on your legs and your foot. You do not want to risk Caitlin Clark coming back and her suffering serious injury that may prolong her being out for even longer. That's not what you want to do. We've seen it happen to Kevin Durant. When he came back, he had a calf strain. We've seen it happen to...
The league is in a precarious situation. Their path to popular significance, their biggest attraction, and their most marketable star are all gathering dust on the bench. The same player who pushed TV ratings through the ceiling and packed venues to capacity is now a mystery with no solutions. The WNBA is handling other awkward circumstances in the meanwhile. There are security issues, sex objects being tossed onto courts, and a general feeling that the league has lost control over its own story. However, nothing is comparable to the circumstances surrounding Clark. This goes beyond a single player or squad. This relates to the league's failure to safeguard its most important commissioner. Kathy Engelbert discusses task forces for player safety. But when Clark was being taken advantage of game after game, where was that task force? The suspensions were where? Where were the significant fines? For a player who was essentially preventing their league from becoming obscure, where was the protection?
Lines in the WNBA dump have been non-existent since Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have been injured. Now with Sophie Cunningham out for the season, there are literally no stars in the WNBA. It would not surprise me if the Indiana Felines were being pressured by either the WNBA Players Union or the league itself. Hell, maybe both. It wouldn't surprise me if the Felines were being pressured to get the roof from Waterloo back on the court. But like I've been telling you guys for weeks, Caitlin Clark is not coming back this season.
The hard reality is beginning to set in as we sit here in late August with 9 games left in the regular season. It's possible that Clark won't play another minute this season. Despite being minor, the bruising on her ankle occurred when she was recovering from previous ailments. She still can't practice because her groin isn't fully healed. Hope is quickly dwindling and time is running out. WNBA analyst Rachel De made the audacious prediction that many fans are considering but are reluctant to voice aloud. Caitlin Clark is not likely to return, in my opinion. Every fan who has been clinging to hope was struck in the chest by the words like a sledgehammer. The woman who was meant to represent the new era of WNBA. The player who is supposed to win Indiana's first title in decades is now battling to return to a practice court. It is devastating. It irritates me. It's the kind of sports disaster that makes you wonder if karma is real.
The last thing that I'll say about that podcast interview is Sophie did mention, she talked about Caitlin Clark briefly and her recovery, and she basically just said, like, it is a day-to-day thing. Caitlin doesn't even know when she will be back. So she didn't really give any more information than that, but I think a lot of fans are speculating, will Caitlin Clark be back? Because Sophie is now out for the season, will the Indiana Fever risk it by bringing Caitlin Clark back? If Sophie is out, do the Fever even have a chance in the playoffs? Why would you bring Caitlin Clark back? Should you bring Caitlin Clark back? Will she be practicing this week? They have a tough stretch of games. Are they going to bring her back against a team like the Minnesota Lynx? We just don't know. And I, like I've said in the past few videos, I don't think Caitlin Clark is coming back.
This is what no one wants to acknowledge. This could have been avoided. If the WNBA had performed its duties, all of these injuries could have been prevented. If they had shielded their stars rather than allowing them to be mauled. Instead of turning a blind eye, they may have called birds. If they had put players' safety ahead of allowing them to play. However, they didn't. They let nasty players and envious veterans who couldn't match Caitlin Clark's skill to use her as a punching bag. As their biggest star took hit after hit, they fostered a culture of cheap shots and targeting. They are currently coping with the fallout. The most depressing aspect is that this is more than a single season. This is about a professional path that has been ruined by incompetence in the league. Building on her phenomenal rookie season, Clark was expected to be entering her peak and spearheading the mainstream breakthrough in women's basketball. Rather, she is discovering what it means to be weak, vulnerable, and human.
Is that something you and the medical staff just kind of reiterate with her? Just, hey, it's okay, take your time, there's a big picture we got to think about here?
Yeah, and I think just the experience throughout the year, trying to come back and come back quickly, has also taught her, that she needs to make sure that she's 100%. And yes, every competitor wants to play. But at the same time, doing it the right way and making sure after we've had a couple of setbacks that we're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
Every time she takes the court, the spectators who flocked to arenas to see her warm up are now holding their breath. The media that made her a household name are now writing injury updates rather than highlight reels if she does play again this season. The WNBA, which she single-handedly brought into the public eye, is now frantically trying to figure out what to do in the absence of its biggest star. It wasn't only a fresh injury that Caitlin Clark had to deal with. She fell prey to a league that disregarded the most fundamental business principle: safeguard your financial assets. And now, as the 2025 season fades and championship hopes fall, we're left wondering if we'll ever witness the same explosive Caitlin Clark, a game-changer who swept the basketball globe. There is a countdown clock. The WNBA's golden goose, a victim of their own carelessness, is still trapped in the trainer's room as the playoffs draw near. It's a disaster rather than merely a setback. The worst part is that it was completely avoidable.